Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing the Radeon RX 6900 XT in Starfield. This one is the MSI Gaming X Trio version of the card. We are running it with the latest AMD drivers, and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power Up's GPU-Z, and finally, on the left, we're pairing it with the i5 13600K at 5.5 GHz and 32 GB of DDR5 6000 MHz RAM in dual channel. Let's get into it, shall we? Oh my god. This is actually kind of unbelievable. Whoa. So this is the guess the settings part where you take a look at the graphics here, take a look at the water, for example. Looks great, doesn't it? And you try to guess the settings that we're playing on right now. You know, what settings, preset, low, medium, high, or ultra, and what resolution. All I'm gonna say is that I'm pretty impressed, actually. Of course, 6900 XT is a pretty high-end card. It was really strong back when it came out, and it still is. But considering everything that we saw so far, I am impressed that this is playing at 60 plus frames per second all of the time at 1440p high settings. It's not ultra settings, yes, okay, if I set it to ultra it might drop from 60. Yeah, okay, it's close, so it definitely will. There we go, 57, 58. But it is okay, because high actually looks like ultra in this one. But first, let's try it at 1080p resolution using the ultra settings preset with 75% resolution scale, because that's the default for this preset right here. I'm just gonna disable motion blur, and that's it. Let's try this. Alright, and at 1080p ultra settings, it could look better, you know, if FSR was set to 100%, or if we were at native resolution, because the FSR in this game isn't really the greatest implementation ever. It looks decent, though, at 75%, and it's okay. It's passable, in my opinion. But if you have this performance with the 6900 XT, you have a little bit of headroom to improve things and still keep it above 60 frames per second. So I would definitely increase that resolution scale slider a little bit, you know, make it a bit more seeable, especially at the distance. You can tell that some things are pretty pixelated. So I'm actually going to disable the upscaling altogether and keep it at native 1080p with ultra settings. And remember my RTX 4070 Ti video? I'm not sure if you guys watched it, of course, but if you haven't, I was getting 60 to 70 frames per second most of the time, and it actually dipped into the high 50s to 59 FPS only. Not really a big deal, you know. I would still consider it a 60 plus FPS experience all of the time. It was probably just a one-off dipping into the 59s, but still, that GPU was struggling more than this one is. And that GPU is faster. It performs like a 3090 Ti, so around like 10-15% faster than the 6900 XT, I guess. Before the game came out and looking at the graphics and stuff like that, I would have guessed that a GPU like this with these settings would be able to achieve like 100 plus frames per second, you know, for a high refresh rate experience at 1080p, but we all know that Starfield is completely broken optimization-wise, and this is what we get. So yeah, that's it for 1080p. I don't think we need to use like high settings, for example. If you want that, you can achieve like 10 more frames per second than ultra settings. Not really that huge of a difference, you know. And if you want to optimize your settings, you can achieve like 5 more FPS than this. But yeah, at 1080p resolution, just stick to ultra settings. Enjoy the game maxed out with the best visuals that you can have here. And yeah, maybe enable a little bit of Fidelity FX CAS over here on the upscaling and keep this at 100%, because that looks really good. A lot better than native, in my opinion, because it just makes everything a little bit sharper, you know. I like the look of it, and it doesn't affect FPS whatsoever. You get exactly the same performance with CAS enabled or disabled. So I just bumped it up to 1440p, and now we're playing on ultra settings, 75% resolution scale, which will look a lot better at 1440 than it did at 1080p. So this could be a viable option for 1440p monitors, and let's try this out. This is ultra settings preset without motion blur, 75% resolution scale, and it's looking pretty damn good at 1440p. I like the added sharpness from the 69% sharpness that we are using, of course. It's a very nice video here today, my friends. We got 6900 XT, 69% sharpness. We might get 69 FPS on average somewhere in this video, maybe at 4K, like medium setting. I don't know. But hopefully we will see a 69 in the averages. Also, it's pretty interesting to take a look at that VRAM utilization with the 6900 XT because it's a 16GB GPU. And usually AMD cards, why are you all running? God damn it. Okay, it's time. Oh, I don't have bullets. God damn. I'm out of bullets in almost every single weapon that I have. Jesus, so many people right here. What the hell? And they're all stuck. Of course they are. Where's Bob, by the way? We need to find Bob. Anyway, as you can see, if you want ultra settings at 1440p, this is probably the way to go. It never drops from 60 frames per second with 75% resolution scale. You can probably use a little bit higher resolution scale, like 80% I found to be pretty adequate, and it looks slightly better. So it's getting 60s right here. It might drop in like huge explosions, or some people said that there is another planet, a cyberpunk-like one, that's a little bit more intensive than this. It might drop a couple of more FPS right there, and yeah, just to stay safe, you should probably aim for 70 plus FPS most of the time. But I mean, there's nothing to worry about, really. It gets pretty good FPS. So now let's disable the upscaling. This is native 1440p resolution at the ultra settings. Alright guys, here we have it. Native resolution 69 FPS to start this off. Perfect. Maybe this is where we're gonna see the 69 average. Oh boy, this is the perfect video, you know. I should definitely test the 6900 XT a little bit more often. Anyways, as you can see, in this area, which is extremely intensive, it dips into the mid-50s sometimes at native 1440p. I would say this is totally unacceptable once again, but I have already said that in a ton of videos so far, so I'm not gonna bother you with that again. It's just very lackluster performance for the visuals here. Let's try it on high settings this time around, 69% sharpness. And let's disable FSR first. Okay, so we're playing at native resolution. Yeah, it's consistently above 70 frames per second. I think if you want the native 1440p experience, you should just set it to high, disable the FSR because it sets it to 62% resolution scale by default, which is absolutely insane, and that's probably why a lot of people are saying that they're playing this on high absolutely fine. They're just not aware that the resolution scale is there, I guess, and if they disabled it, the visuals would be much better, of course, because it's a blurry mess with the resolution scale. And then on Ultra, it's 75% resolution scale by default, which is absolutely crazy, you know. How do you have an Ultra settings preset that sets the resolution scale to 75%? That's so weird. Anyway, on high settings, I'm going to enable the resolution scale to 66%. This is FSR quality, okay? Going to disable motion blur once again. And now, this looks pretty good. A little bit shimmery, but it should be enough for us to achieve closer to 100 frames per second. That's what we're seeing right here. Alright, not anymore. 80s at times. Yeah, if you are looking for that little bit of extra smoothness from your game, this is probably it. It still looks okay. I have tested it in a native 1440p monitor already with 66% FSR, and it looked alright, you know. DLSS looks way better, like DLSS 66% in this game performs very similarly to 66% FSR, and it looks way better, okay? Almost indistinguishable from native resolution with DLSS, whereas over here, well, you can see that shimmering again, and a lot of noise, a lot of pixelation at times. But if you're not really looking for it, and again, if you really want that smoother experience, this is it. It's getting 80 plus FPS here in Atlantis City, which is very intensive, and that means that in 95 or 90% of the planets out there, you're going to see close to 100, 120 frames per second, because it does get way easier to run outside of this area right here. Let's try it at 80% resolution scale lastly here, because this looks super similar to native resolution using FSR2. It actually looks very similar to like DLSS at 66%, although still a little bit more shimmery, okay? It's not as good as DLSS even at 80%, so yeah. But I found that this is probably the best visuals to performance ratio when it comes to the resolution scale in high-end GPUs like the 6900 XT. Oh, there's Bob. Hello. Can I talk to you, Bob?
How's it going?
It's going fine so far. Of course, the Bob protectors are already here. I'm gonna kill you, Bob. I'm sorry. This time you won't run away from us. All right, over here, dropping into the 80s, 70s. Not really that much slower than 66% resolution scale. And it does look that little bit better, so... You know what? Just play with 80% resolution scale. That's enough for 1440p. We should move on to 4K. Here we have it, 3840 by 2160, back to ultra settings. I'm gonna disable motion blur, and the upscaling is turned off as well. And here at native resolution, we're seeing 40-ish frames per second. Once again, a bit better than what I saw with the RTX 4070 Ti. So we see once again that this game clearly favors AMD a lot, alright? It's interesting that the clock speeds on the GPU are fluctuating quite a bit right now. Maybe they have been throughout the entire video, but I didn't really notice that. Usually in other titles, they don't fluctuate too much. They stay at like 2500 something megahertz most of the time, but that's all right. We're finally seeing the true TDP of the 6900 XT as well, 300 watts of usage. The NVIDIA cards unfortunately don't really use all of the power available to them in this one, but yeah, the 6900 XT is definitely very capable of running 4K in Starfield. If you are aiming for that 30 FPS experience, which Bethesda says it's gonna be amazing, this is always gonna be above that. You can lock it to 30 or even 35 and achieve that 30-ish FPS console experience, because the consoles are actually kept to 30 in this one. Now, you have the option of playing at the default ultra settings. I'm just gonna disable motion blur, and that enables our resolution scale to 75% with FSR2. And it looks basically the same, if not slightly better, because now you got the sharpening going on and it doesn't look as soft as before. Unfortunately, my god, dude, stop running away. Oh, there we go. This one got it. She started running towards us. Yes. Anyway, we're getting 50-ish frames per second. It's still not enough to put us above 60 FPS all of the time. But remember, in other planets, you will likely see 60 plus easily, because this one is one of the most intensive ones and one of the most intensive areas in the entire game as well. It's probably because of all of this vegetation around us, as well as a lot of NPCs on screen at once. That kills the FPS a little bit as well. But I guess the civilians running around, or the NPCs, are a little bit more CPU intensive than GPU intensive. But of course, with the 13600K at 5.5 GHz, it's not bottlenecking a 6900 XT, even in this game, which is super ultra CPU bound for some reason. Anyways, even with 50-something FPS, it feels alright shooting people around here, so I say this is playable. All right, 66% resolution scale now, which is FSR2 quality. And here we go, getting 60 FPS-ish sometimes. It's probably gonna have a little bit more screen tearing right now, by the way, because of the 60 hertz of the capture card. Can't do anything about it, I'm sorry. This is the only way I can record lossless footage in terms of FPS. It doesn't affect performance whatsoever because of the capture card, but it has screen tearing because of the capture card. So I'm sorry if you see that a lot right now. Still, if you are aiming for around 60 average in a city like this one, a huge and very intensive part of the game, this is probably it. FSR2 on quality and ultra settings will deliver that, interestingly. Most of the time below 60, actually, especially right here. Oh my god, it's touching 50 FPS. Okay, I did not expect it to drop that much after seeing 60-ish near the trees. But the trees are more intensive for NVIDIA GPUs, and this area right here is more intensive for AMD GPUs. Anyway, it's still not 60 plus. I think we should try 50%. Will it do 60 plus all of the time? I guess it will, guys. Okay, finally. It's getting 61. Right. Yeah, it shouldn't really drop from 60. Let's see over here, though, because that's really intensive once again. And we're seeing 62, 63. It's a little bit better than that area right there. Okay. Alright, I guess it's safe to say that it's gonna be 60 plus all of the time, but now you're actually rendering the game at 1080p resolution with that resolution scale slider at 50%, so it doesn't look amazing. Alright, you can definitely tell that it's a lot softer right now than it was before. This is where DLSS really shines, because I could actually play with DLSS 50% absolutely all day long. With a little bit of sharpening involved as well. But here with FSR, it just looks a little bit too soft for my taste. But let's try it on the high settings preset now, without motion blur and without upscaling in place. Just gonna reload the previous one, because the NPCs are gone now. And here we have it. Not that huge of a difference compared to Ultra Native, you know? We're getting like 10 FPS more, less than 10 FPS more, like 5 to 10 most of the time, I guess. So the experience will end up feeling pretty similar, just slightly smoother than Ultra at native resolution. So at 4K, you really need that resolution scaling to achieve 60 FPS. Hopefully with high settings, it's going to be easier to do so. You know what? Maybe these are the perfect settings for 4K. 69% resolution scale. With FSR2, 69% sharpness. No. Okay. Imagine if it actually did get 60 plus the entire time. That would be amazing. Alright, so it's getting 50s here in worst case scenario, basically. That means that it's actually gonna average below 60 if I kept on running around here, because there are areas like this one where it's gonna drop a lot. It's definitely very playable once again. It looks really good at 4K with 69% sharpness, actually. Alright, I can't really see major issues with the image quality right now. I feel like if you're playing at 4K high, this is a pretty compelling option. Even here, it's not really dropping too much, 59 right there. It will be 55 plus FPS the entire time, and a game like this is very playable, even if you dip into the 50s every now and again. I think 45 plus or 40 plus all of the time is essential for a game like this. 30-ish FPS, I feel like it's a bit too low, you know? You can start feeling a lot of slowdowns there. But, yeah, I'm not really complaining about this. This is alright performance, especially compared to other cards that we've seen. But let's try it with 62% resolution scale, which is the default for high settings, and the dynamic resolution is turned on usually here, but it doesn't kick in unless you are below 30 frames per second, so it doesn't really matter. But look at that, guys. I think we've found the way to play this at 60 plus 100% of the time. 6900 XT can do it at high settings 4K, but with 62% resolution scale. And with the 62% resolution scale, it's still not terrible. You know, I thought it was gonna look a lot worse than this. If you're playing at 4K, I would actually choose these settings, guys. Either these or optimized settings. Lower like a couple of settings right here, for example, shadow quality to medium, which doesn't really make that much of a difference, and volumetric lighting to medium as well, and you can probably achieve a few more FPS. Yeah, there we go, 70 over here instead of whatever we were getting. But well, I guess that's been it, right? We found the perfect settings at 4K resolution already. Didn't even need to go down to medium settings aside from the shadows and volumetric stuff. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing here with the 6900 XT. It's way more impressive. What are these people doing? Why are you all stopped? Oh, it's because that NPC is going in that direction and they all wanted to go in that direction and they just can't really turn for some reason. Yep, NPCs on a very next-gen title, isn't this, my friends? Oh my gosh. Okay, lastly, let's try it at medium settings for those of you who want that native resolution experience, alright? And even on medium, it's not enough to put us above 60 all of the time. So if you want native 4K, it's going to be extremely hard to get that. Alright, you probably need low settings. And even then, I'm thinking that it's not going to do it. So native resolution, low settings, no motion blur. Okay, 60 right here, but it's still dropping. See that? The game is so intensive at native resolution. Good thing is FSR2 at 4K does look good, even at 62%. So use that instead. Alright, guys. thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.